Hello and welcome back everyone to Indian Racing League, and this is Bahrain International Circuit round 8 of 12 for Division 1, and it's not a Saturday because we had a real life Bahrain Grand Prix on a Saturday, so we have switched things up, and both the Division 1 and Division 2 races are on a Sunday for this week as well as next week in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. So, people who have tuned in, thank you for doing that because this is going to be a very boring one man commentary. And please excuse me if I don't speak for a certain time period because it just gets a bit monotonous after a point. And let's try to pick up someone who's probably going to start a lap. I think Extinct Body in the Ferrari is the driver to do so. And yeah, let me know if you can hear me well on the stream and if everything is fine in terms of engine noises, as Extinct Body completely butchers turn 3 there, and I don't know how he has kept his lap. It should probably have been invalidated, but maybe he lost more time than gaining through that section, which is why he still has this lap. And if the Formula 1 game is to be believed, he has gone purple through sector 1. He has a very familiar number 5 on his red Ferrari, and I can't help but miss Sebastian Vettel, one of my favorite drivers in Formula 1, who's not racing with us anymore. But let's hope that he graces the paddock in some way or form sometime in the future, as Extinct Body now approaches turn 11, and this is one of the 3 DRS zones leading up to this corner, and should be a fun race. It's a day race right now, as you see this. It's overcast, so it's not completely bright, but usually we have a night race around this track, and this time our supreme leader has decided to, just for the sake of some change and novelty, has decided to switch things up. As Extinct Body is about to complete his lap, it goes PH with a 29.6. Redstone Dub has put down the early marker as usual, the 28.0, and he's 7 tenths clear of anyone else in the field. So nothing new there. He has 6 poles out of the 7 races prior to this one, so nothing new there. And if I have to bet on someone who is going to take pole tonight, it would be the Mercedes driver. Let's go on board with him and see how he manages the second of, I'm assuming, 3 runs that he will make this session. He has a track in front of him. There is no car. I think there's one car exiting the pit. That's a Red Bull, and it should be fine because Redstone is not really going to get impeded as he goes through turns 2 and 3. Careful on the throttle. Brings his car back onto the left side of the track. Uses all of the track, which you can see him on the curb and off the runoff area, down to the 3rd gear, then short shifting up to 4th before he picks up the throttle. There's a car ahead, which might be a distraction, and I hope that they go out of the way. Yes, they do. As Redstone now into turn 8. Very good turn in. Keeps it in the 3rd gear before up the hill he goes into one of the most tricky braking sections of the calendar. We saw a lot of cars locking up here and having serious issues in the real life Grand Prix, but well managed there from Redstone Dub. I didn't really see what kind of sector splits he was doing, but into turn 11 swings his car from right to left as he now brings the car back to the left. It's a completely flat out right hander there, and through the second sector split he's up by 1.5 tenths, understeer through turn 14, and he has one major braking division to go. That's the right hander of turn 14. Technically there are 2 corners here, but it's just one effectively, as he is about to complete his lap. This is a decent lap, might be an improvement, but yeah, he comes back in the pits, and probably rightly so. Could have extracted more from the car there, but didn't really happen, as VFX has gone P2 with a 28.4, so he has gone closer to Redstone than anyone else has. What about anyone else? Is Caesar about to complete his lap, the 28.8, and no one at 27 so far. Maybe Redstone could be the only person who might even think of a lap time in the high 127s. Let's see how that works out for him. Is Ethan on a lap? I think he just might have started one in his Aston Martin while his teammate Basil is in P8 right now, the 29.5, a few tenths to find for URL Basil, as currently he is 1.5 seconds off the provisional pole time. Well, Ethan, I don't think he's on a lap because he's not really deploying his battery, as he completely misses his braking point there. Probably to allow the Red Bull of Noble Garter to go through. So let's pick up Noble Garter then. Is he on a lap? Yeah, he is on a push lap and he's up by almost a tenth. And through this flat out right hander, is he up? Yes, he's up by a further 2 tenths. So this is shaping up to be a good lap from Noble Garter. And if he can keep this advantage, that would put him maybe ahead of Jishnu. So it could be a Red Bull 2-3 at the end of this run from Noble Garter. Let's see as he now approaches the finish line, keeps it to the left of the track, and Noble Garter, there you go, goes P3 with a 28.5 to his name. Is anyone else trying to go for a run right now? I think Charles has just started a lap. I think Basil just put his car into P5 with a 28.7, so that's good improvement from the Aston Martin driver. What about Ethan? Ethan is now starting a lap. When the last time we saw him, he was on an out lap, but this time he is on a push lap, and he has set a time so far of 30.4, but again that's not competitive at all, and everyone on those soft tires. So people who are watching, let me know what do you think the strategy is going to be, because I'm assuming this is a standard one stopper, but you never know. If there's a safety car, you might want to ditch those hard tires and go on a softer compound, as you are lethal now through the long left-hander, and it's sometimes easy to lose your car here if you're very eager on the throttle. Ethan makes no such mistakes, as is up by almost a second. 9 tenths is the gap. Well, he needs such kind of gains if he has to be anywhere near the top 10. And let's see as he comes to the final corner, and let's picks up the throttle for the run up to the line, and that is Ethan up into P8, and he is still about 3 tenths of his teammate. Redstone on a lap once again. Basil, I think, is gonna come into the pits. Yes, he is. So Redstone is on an out lap, so we have to wait for him to. I think, yeah, no one is on a hot lap right now, and Redstone is going to start a lap. So let's see what Redstone does. The third time of asking, he's had a habit of doing this. It goes a bit early than everyone else in the hopes of finding a clear track, and it has worked for him, as is evident from the 6 out of 7 poles, as he completely misses up his line there. And I think that is it for this run. I don't think, yeah, he has backed off. And well, let's see if he has enough fuel as he comes. Oh my god, I think that's probably on purpose from Redstone Dove. That's out of frustration as he spins the car around on track with no real malice or no real threat to anyone ahead or behind him. But he has lit up his tires there, the Mercedes driver and our championship leader. I don't think he should be having an issue, and Azun, as is always with his delusional comments. Let's see if Redstone is going to go for another lap. Until then, VFX, well, he's just come out of the pits, so it'll be a while before he actually starts his lap. I don't think there is anyone else who is, yeah, everyone on their final runs now. They've just exited the pits. It is going to be Redstone once again who is going to be the first one across the line when the lights are out and that checkered flag falls. So here we go. Redstone up! Redstone up! Well, I don't think that was on the cards, and I don't think that was planned. The Mercedes has bent it in the wall and will take no further part, as I think it is Jishnu who has started the lap, and let's see what he does. He's in P4 right now, and he has a couple of tenths to find ahead of the two Red Bulls. We have seen a good battle between the Williams and the Red Bulls in the past few races. So let's see if, even if Redstone dominates this, let's see if we have a good fight for the podium positions between these two constructors. And as far as the constructors championship is concerned, it is close between Red Bull and McLaren. So McLaren also in the mix, as are Aston Martin and as are Williams. So it is very close, as there are only 13 points between these four constructors. That's Red Bull, McLaren, Aston Martin, and Williams. So it should be a interesting fight. As Jishnu, I was not really keeping an eye out on his sector times. So let's see what his second sector time is. Is he gaining on his previous time? Yes, he is, but just marginally so. At this rate, he is not on course to improve his position. VFX is not on course to improve his position either. He's hardly matching his time in the first sector. He's not going according to plans. What about Noble Garter? Well, we'll not know right now. As Jishnu now comes across the line, is it an improvement in position? Yes, it is. He splits the Red Bulls and he's in P3 right now. That's his quali done. What about VFX? VFX is yet to pass through the second sector. Probably the only man who can challenge Redstone for that pole position. Remember, it was very close between them in the previous race. I think VFX is up on his time, but it's not enough. He will need a mega third sector. Might get a distant tow from, I think, Shooter ahead of him. Yeah, Shooter is about to complete his lap as McLaren goes through as well. Caesar not improving position. Shooter across the line goes P5. What about VFX across the line? And he does. Oh, there's a Haas. Or was it? Yeah, it was a Haas of Pratham who completely lost it to the final corner. But Noble Garter, of all people, well, we thought VFX might be closest to Redstone, but it is Noble who has pipped his teammate and is put his car on the front row. What a qualifying from Noble Garter. Remember our race winner from Miami a couple of races back. He has put his car in P2 and VFX in P3, followed by the two Williams boys in P4 and P5. Basil in P6. Caesar down in P7, which is a bit of a disappointment for him, I'm sure. Would have liked to be higher up the order than the 7th place, followed by Ethan in P8, Leclerc in P9, Chips with a very late lap, I must say, in P10, and then Pratham lost it at the final corner in P11. Extinct Body in P12, and I think that was followed by Harsh and Wicket Vicky, neither of whom had put in a lap time. So that is qualifying done, and well, that is Redstone with his 7th pole in 8 races. Continues his brilliant performance in qualifying, and well, the change of the day hasn't really put any sort of dent in his pace. And let's hope that he would slow down just a little bit in the race trim to give us some good entertainment. Otherwise, he might be running away with this one as well. So I'm not sure what's happening in the D2 race. If someone can, anyone who's watching right now can let me know, so we can keep an eye out on both the races at the same time. And meanwhile, Manchester City have equalized. I was watching the Manchester Derby on my phone on my way back home, and it's the 60th minute now, so I've missed the first 15 minutes of the second half. They have equalized somehow after terrible, probably the worst miss I've seen in a long time by Erling Haaland. So, yep, I'll try to keep an eye out on the footballing side of things as well as we get underway. As you can see, a bright, sunny Bahrain track gives me 2010 feels. I think that was the only time I have seen day race in Bahrain. But let's see how this is different for sure. I'm not a fan because Bahrain looks incredibly beautiful in the night lights. But well, this is something different, and maybe it will be difficult for drivers to adjust to these bright settings and the track and the lights around the track. So maybe in natural sunlight. They might struggle, some make some more mistakes, and provide us with entertainment as the 5 lights are on the grid and it's lights out and we're underway. It's a good start from Jishnu behind the two Red Bulls, and Redstone is leading all of them up into turn one. Is anyone going to dive bomb? Oh, there's a Red Bull sandwich! Not a Red Bull sandwich, it was VFX who got sandwiched between his teammate Basil. What a start from him! As up into P3, and now they're all going side by side in the turn 4 as Ethan is trying to make up a few places. Redstone has gotten away well, but Ethan and VFX are battling. Well, there was definitely a lot of contact there, but doesn't seem to Ethan is thankfully, oh, he dives down the inside of the Red Bull, and VFX does keep his position. So now things might have settled up as Chips. Is he going to go for a move? No, he does not go for it. Thinks the better of it. But what a move from Caesar behind him. He was trying to go for a move. I don't think he completed it, but there was an attempt from Caesar to get ahead of Leclerc in the Haas. But up ahead, it's all calm in the world of Redstone up as he maintains his lead from the race start, and Jishnu has jumped up a few places. I think it was P4, so a couple of places is what he has jumped up. And you can see most of the grid on those medium tires. There are a few hard runners, so we'll keep an eye out on how the tire performance is, if there's a difference there. But the Williams boys, what a brilliant start. Both the Williams were behind both the Red Bulls at the start of the race, but once again, whoever is in P2 somehow flounders. It's usually VFX in the previous races, but this time it's Noble Garter, and he has lost 3 positions of the start. VFX has lost 3 positions of the start as well, although VFX is on the hard tires, so not really surprising, but he would have liked to maintain track position at the start of the race. As I said, 3 DRS zones on this track, so you can try to get into some kind of a DRS train and then hope to keep that position, and then eventually wait for your competitors to wear out their tires. But yeah, while we are in this period, well, no real action is going on. Well, not expected either. DRS is yet to be enabled. It will be enabled at the end of this lap. But let me know in the comments what you thought about the first race of the 2024 real life Formula 1 season, as Max Verstappen not surprisingly dominated, but that car which Chips is driving, Alpine, is absolutely in the mud in terms of performance. And I think the most exciting part of the race, of course, was on the cool down lap, where Yuki Tsunoda, of course, was not really happy with the decision of the team to let Ricciardo through, and Ricciardo, of course, did not really make any inroads on the cars ahead of him. Right now, nothing doing. Harsh has lost some time to everyone behind him. I'm not sure what happened there. He's lost 6 seconds, or is 6 seconds off, as Bharat and Pratham are battling it out, and I think Bharat has just overtaken Pratham. Is he going to keep the place? Yes, he is. And well, that is about it, as Bharat makes the overtake stick. Soon I will have to check the pole time. The pole time was a 28.0, yes, as Abhishek mentioned. And if D2 pole is 28.6, that is impressive. Just 6 tenths off Redstone. That would put whoever got D2 pole maybe P3, P4 over here. So that is very impressive. I'm assuming it was Raman or Srikanth or I am Rahul, one of these 3 drivers who would have gotten a pole. Good thing for Jishnu is that he has dropped URL Basil, but he is firmly within DRS of Redstone. So that should be interesting. But Basil now will come under attack from Shooter, as here goes the Williams, and it's a very, very standard, easy overtake for Shooter. And Williams right now in double podium position as Basil seems to overshoot his braking marker there. What about VFX and all that? VFX is stuck behind his teammate. Well, I don't think he would mind as long as they are all in that DRS train, but he would want to climb up a few places because if he can really hold off these medium runners in the first few laps, then the hard tires will come into equation, and that should be advantage VFix as far as the podium fight is concerned. And up ahead, just about hanging on by a thread, as there was some locking animation there, and Jishnu, he has DRS, but look at the gap, it's more than a second, and I reckon when the next time they are passing through the DRS detection zone, Redstone will have a good advantage or enough of an advantage over Jishnu to not allow the Williams driver with DRS. However, Basil, who lost a position on the main straight on this lap, might be poised to take that position back from Shooter. So 4 tenths is the gap, and that's decreasing on that back straight. Even without DRS, the car is helped by Shooter punching a hole through free air. And here goes Basil. He's not using his battery. I don't think he needs to. Should be an easy overtake for Basil as we watch from Noble Garter's point of view. And Basil has the inside line, and Noble Garter very close to making contact with Shooter, but he breaks well in time. And now it is Shooter who has DRS, but I think Baz has firmly put himself into P2, P3 rather, and VFX and Noble Garter going side by side, and I think they've now sorted it out, and VFX taking advantage of maybe a mistake, I'm not entirely sure, but that is VFX up into P5 and is overtaken his teammate. Has been the lead hard runner for quite some time, but he would want now to latch on to the back of Shooter as fast as possible. Alright, thank you for that update, Azul. As Ethan now is very close to Noble Garter, and Noble Garter, while he has DRS, is Ethan going to go for a move here? I don't think he is. And that's a good shot of the camera. But here is Kevin De Bruyne, and the edge of the area. He has a free kick, and pardon me if I am not talking about racing for the next few seconds, as City have a very good chance to gain the lead in the Manchester derby. De Bruyne has hit the wall, and that's all she wrote for that chance. They still have 20 minutes to get 3 points out of this one instead of just one, and let's see what happens. But Jishnu now falling off considerably, so Redstone has put some kind of a gap between him and the Williams, and effectively also protecting himself from the undercut. If it's a one stopper, I believe the drivers would be thinking of pitting somewhere around lap 13 or 14, so we'll keep an eye out on that. And VFX very very close to Shooter, so despite Shooter having DRS, maybe VFX has a chance and is done well on his hard tires to be in a contention for a podium here. And we'll be on board with VFX for the next part of this section, as here goes VFX. He's using his battery a little bit and he's gaining good time on Shooter, who also has DRS. So does VFX try to overtake here, or does VFX wait? In fact, it is Shooter who's turning attack in defense into attack, and maybe VFX can do a double overtake here. You cannot write him out, as here he goes. VFX now once again using his battery, and Shooter is trying to cut him off there, and VFX very very careful takes the inside line. They're going to go side by side through this section of the track. They are almost very close, but good racing between the two of them, and VFix makes the move stick. He is up into P4, and now next up on the cards for him is URL Battle. This is good racing, and this is good recovery from VFX. But let's see, I don't think he has the pace or the track position to catch up to Redstone Duff, but he definitely can put himself into contention for P2 here. As further behind, I see Wicked Vicky, who might be going on a move. No, he does not. Sticks behind Caesar, who has also struggled on. Oh! Wicked Vicky! I don't know what happened there. I was a bit distracted by football, but Wicked Vicky has lost his car, has lost his end plate, and has lost a ton of positions. He's now dead last, and that's not good news, and he'll have to come into the pits. Azun saying the mediums should be screaming. I'm not sure if 8 laps is all it takes for mediums to be crying out for help, but here is VFX now, and he has made this move on URL Battle. He's up into podium positions. Mercurial Caesar was under attack from Charles Leclerc, was he? And he's kept his P9. He was P9 when Wicked Vicky and him were battling. At Wicked Vicky, it goes from bad to worse as he gets a 5-second time penalty from speeding in the pit lane, and he calls it a day. Retires in the pit lane. That's a bit early from Wicked Vicky to call it a night, and well, there could always have been more chances. As Caesar, what is that line? Him and Charles were battling. Caesar has lost the position to the Haas car, but that was a very difficult line, as Pratham has had a moment, and oh, what is going on? This race is absolutely kicked off all of a sudden, as Hirsch is off the track as well, and Pratham had a moment, and well, they're all both running now. I'm not sure if anyone has damage, but let's see. Meanwhile, Ethan is now trying to gain on Noble Carter, so mediums definitely not the faster tire now, considering it would be, I'm assuming, a wear of about 40% on those tires, as there's an Aston Martin of Baz getting very, very close to VFX, and Caesar now making the most take on Charles Leclerc. So these two have been battling and have lost so much time to the cars ahead. They probably need some kind of a safety car or a strategy advantage to make things work. As Charles Leclerc goes for a move, or rather just gives Caesar a look, but not really any convincing overspeed there from the Haas driver. Meanwhile, URL Basil, after being overtaken by VFX, has stuck with him, so that is good driving from Basil, because his tires, as we discussed, would be pretty much second hand by now, and if he can stay with VFX, that's good for his race in the long term. And VFX, let's see if he can make any sort of inroads on Jishnu. He hasn't been able to, despite Jishnu being on the mediums. Jishnu does have good pace, and VFX, despite being on the better tires, is yet to make it count. As here goes Basil now. Is he going to go for a move? He was very close on the last lap, and he has enough battery and he has enough overspeed. He will have no choice but to go for the move, as Baz moves himself up into P3, and behind them Shooter is very close. So if VFX is not careful, VFX might just come back at Basil. Will he? Yes, he will. Down the inside goes VFX, and I don't think they have lost each other too much time there. And Baz, after making a move on VFX, immediately loses the position on the next straight, but I think that's fine. I don't think they really cost each other any time there. VFX was 2 seconds behind Jishnu, is still 2 seconds behind Jishnu, but crucially Jishnu is solidifying his P2 position with every passing lap. And what about Shooter here? Shooter had been involved in a battle with Noble Carter and Basil, but when V6 came through, he couldn't really stop the Red Bull. So it's a waiting game right now, 10 laps in, and I think it is 3 laps before they think about pitting, as I think V6 would obviously go longer than his competitors. And Abhishek, if you're thinking that Anthony will score a winner against City, well, he could. He scored a winner against Barcelona, but it would be whole another conversation if City manages to concede to Anthony. As here goes URL Basel down the inside of VFX. Once again, it's deja vu. VFX is run off the road, and it is Shooter who is taking advantage of that. That was not on the cards for VFX, as he would have been okay with losing a position to Baz, but not to Shooter. That is something which is again not on the cards for VFX, but that's fine. He can still wait for a couple of laps until they all decide to pit. The medium runners, I mean. There's a gap up ahead for Redstone Derp is 4+ seconds, and it's 2 seconds from P2 to P3 between Jishnu and Basil right now. So let me know in the comments, guys. When do you think the medium runners are gonna pit? I suspect lap 13, but if you have a different number in mind, or if you have sweated on this track to know what the tire life is, do correct me if I am way off my prediction here. Lap 14 says Abhishek, so let's see. I don't think it's time yet, but in a couple of laps, if Abhishek and Azuna are to be believed. But here goes the Ferrari of Ethan. He's trying to go for a move on Noble Carter up ahead. It is Basil and Shooter who are also going for a move. It's Shooter who is up into P3, and Basil has lost a position. Noble Carter has lost a position to Ethan. And is Basil going to come back? No, he is not. So as things stand, it is a Williams 1-2, and that move from Shooter comes at a very good time on Basil, as Caesar and Charles Leclerc are locked in this battle. They just can't seem to get rid of each other, and Extreme Body has caught up to them. But yeah, the move from Shooter, that overtake, comes at a really good time, because if they are thinking of pitting, Jishnu might not be under any kind of threat as far as... Oh, it's a goal! I think it's Phil Foden. Yeah, it is Phil Foden who scores for Manchester City, so they are leading in the derby. But yeah, as I was saying, Shooter might be given the preference to pit to prevent himself from an undercut. So let's see in the next couple of laps when that happens, as URL Basil is in the pits. He triggers the undercut, and it's a bit early because he will have to go 17 laps on those mediums, on those hards, pardon. But he has decided to make that call, and let's see what happens, because he will be a long way off. And here goes VFix. Oh, VFix! Oh, that was a bit optimistic from VFix to expect any kind of space there, as Extinct Body and Charles Leclerc are now battling it out, and Extinct Body round the outside of Charles Leclerc. The move is still not done. They're going to go side by side, and as it's the Ferrari of Extinct who comes out on top, but no, Charles Leclerc does hold on, and into turn 8 they go. Can Extinct get a better run out of that right-hander? No is the answer, but Extinct will get. Oh, both of them mess up the braking and they take that curve. But here goes VFX now. He's very close to Shooter. So while Shooter might be putting in at the end of this lap because he might have to respond to that pit stop by Basil, VFX is gonna get DRS on the main straight that will propel him towards Jishnu. Now I don't think Jishnu is putting in this lap. He should not if Williams are playing this smart. It should be Shooter who comes in. But Williams are not playing it smart and it's Jishnu's coming in. No, that is basically leaving Shooter hanging out to dry. And VFX is making that move. Yes, he has, and he is up into P2 now since Jishnu has pitted. And let this Jishnu come out. Jishnu is still on the start finish straight. And with respect to Basil, he should be coming out ahead of Basil. You can see the Aston Martin in the background. It is going to be close, but yeah, it is enough of a gap that Jishnu has. But you can see Basil just behind him. So I don't think Shooter is going to come out ahead of Basil anymore. So maybe something different is what Shooter is thinking, or the Williams boys are thinking, because he's gonna lose track position to Basil. You have to wait and watch how it plays out. Basil, of course, will not have the tire advantage that the cars around him will have. So VFX now 7.5 seconds almost off the race lead, and he has not been able to shed this medium runners. Now what about Redstone? Is he coming in? Does he respond to that undercut from Jishnu? Well, it's not really an undercut. The gap was more than 4 seconds. But he's taking no chances, and Redstone up is in the pits for hopefully his only pit stop of the race. VFX will continue on. Shooter should be pitting in. Yes, Shooter is in. Ethan stays out on his hards. Noble Carter has to stay out. Noble Carter could have pitted, but he stays out. So I'm not sure why. As Abhishek has joined the session, I don't know why he has joined, and ideally he should not join, considering he will help his never mind, do what you want. But let's see where Shooter comes out. Yeah, Shooter has come out behind Basil here, so Shooter has, yes, he's lost like a lot of time to Basil, and hopefully he can claw back that time. He has a 2-lap advantage in terms of tires. There's a yellow flag. Is that Pratham? Yes, it is Pratham. He's lost his car somewhere on the second and third turns. And well, it's safety car in Division 2. Only lap 9. As Bharat has had a moment, or did he just let people go? I think he just let people go there. And is yet to pit. Right, so Ethan and VFX, they're both going to carry on. Noble Carter should be coming in at the end of this lap. Yes, he does. So he would have done more laps on his more laps on his medium tires than he would have on his hard tires. But here goes Basil on the back of Jishnu. Well, he rode the curb a bit too hard there, Baz, and he will make that move stick on Jishnu. But this battle is far from over. I think Basil and Jishnu and maybe even Shooter are going to fight it out, as Ethan is dragging along behind VFX, is getting pulled along, and maybe in the next lap or two they would be thinking of pitting. What about Shooter? Is catching up to the next group of cars, but is right now in a bit of a no man's land. It doesn't have DRS on anyone, as you can see Noble Carter in the background warming up his hard tires, and they should be up to temperature in a lap. Right, so that's round up. Our net race leader 3 seconds behind Caesar, and well, he should be catching him up in no time. I'll give it a lap or lap and a half, but Caesar himself should be pitting in a couple of laps, so that's not really a battle we have on our hands. As the battle we have on our hands is this one. Jishnu and Baz are on the exact same strategy. So is the battle for the race lead right now. It's not a net race lead, but Ethan and VFX are within a second of each other. So this would be interesting from a strategy point of view. They both started lap 17, but does one of the drivers pit on this lap, or do both of them continue on for a lap more? As Caesar decides to pit, so he's first of those drivers who started on the hards, who has decided to pit, and 13 laps on the mediums should be easy for Caesar. He'll come out in P10, I want to say. Leclerc and Extreme Body are fighting each other as Caesar exits the pits, and they both are ahead of Caesar, so Caesar will be behind both of them in P12. And let's see what happens. It's just very, very close to URL Basel, and I hope that they can race each other smart and not lose too much time, because VFix, while he's losing time to them right now, once he pits onto those mediums, he will be very, very quick. So they have to be a little bit smart about it and not think of short-term gains over each other, and work with each other to prevent VFix from getting a podium. Now, does VFX pit at the end of this lap? It's lap 17. You can make it till the end on a set of mediums if you want, but he goes on for one more lap, and it's Ethan who has dived in the pits, and he is going to what I assume is going to be a set of yellow walled medium tires for the Aston Martin. That's round up, sets the fastest lap of the race. He's in free air right now and 10 seconds behind VFX, and Shooter immediately after that gets the fastest lap. So good pace from Shooter, as Jishnu and Baz are going for it, as Baz just about keeps that position, and this is going to be close as Noble got up behind, and Chips, by the way, yet to pit, just like VFX. So you never know what's going to happen, and Chips might go down the inside. He has a look, but it doesn't work out for him, and safe to say that would have been dangerous had he actually gone for the overtake. So you are Ethan coming out in P9 right now, and that's where I expect VFX to come out. But the thing is that Bharat is yet to pit, so make that P7 for VFX when he pits. He'll have a lot of racing to do on those mediums. So let's see our race leader if he pits first of all. Or question to people who are still watching: do you think he is going to go for a set of soft tires? He's continued on for one more lap. That means he will have no more than 10 laps of running on his new tires. His Extreme Body has... My god, what happened there? Hirsch has a 5-second time penalty for corner cutting. And there's a yellow flag which has now been waved off. And there's more racing here going on, as Jishnu and Basil, it's all kicking off at the same time. And 8 minutes of extra time for the Manchester Derby. There's more racing as Caesar overtakes Leclerc. These two, as I said, have been involved in a race-long battle, and Caesar is up into P10. He will get 1 point for all his troubles. And let's see, in the meanwhile, Jishnu did overtake Baz. So let's see what happens. And well, I'm not sure if VFX is thinking of going on to those soft tires, because if he wanted to go on the mediums, he should have done that a while back, as Erling Haaland rolls the ball into the net. It's a disastrous error from a Manchester United player. I don't know which one, but yeah, that's 3-1 to City, and Haaland, after missing that very easy chance, has finally had a goal to his name in this match. Is Vifix going on for one more lap? Yes, he is. So I'm pretty positive now that he's going to go for a soft run towards the end of this race. And maybe if there's a safety car, he could really benefit from it. Here goes Earl Ethan on chips, and Ethan should have no real issues overtaking the Alpine. And it is Amrabat, the Moroccan player, who has made the mistake and has gifted that goal to Manchester City, as it is Leclerc and Caesar going side by side. And Caesar just about keeping it on the track. Caesar has the inside line and the DRS, and he should be the car who leads the spare into turn 4. The gap from 10 seconds is now 6.5 seconds. Make that 6 seconds at the top. So Redstone can probably see VFix's car in the distance. Let's go on board with him. Well, of course, not in the corners, but on the back straight. Redstone can maybe see VFix's car. And Pratham and Hirsch are also battling it out. And there you go. Just in the distance, you can see the Red Bull disappearing. And let's see what VFix is going to do. Is he going to come in? He stays out. One more lap, he stays out in the hunt, in the search for a safety car. Is it going to happen? I'm not entirely sure. Basil has almost lost touch to Jishnu. That's not good news for the Aston Martin driver. He would want to stay within that DRS, but he's quickly losing touch. Does he have some sort of an issue? Did he damage his wing somewhere, or I'm not ready to believe that his tires fell off a cliff there. But here is Noble Garter. He's very close to Ethan, but he has to stay behind. And well, right now Ethan will have the advantage, and I think he'll have that advantage until the end of this race, considering he will have those medium tires in good condition until lap 29. So let's see how this battle turns out. Right now it's advantage Ethan, but Ethan does not have any kind of DRS. Shooter is a few ways up the road, who's in fact now catching up to Baz. So Baz certainly struggling, and it's all of a sudden that his car seems to have decided to switch off and is losing time every corner to Jishnu there. So, well, not entirely sure what the problem is for Baz, but the problem for VFX, our race leader, is Redstone is going to come at a rate of knots very, very soon, and VFX continues on for one more lap, and I think Caesar has made the overtake stake on Bharat. So Caesar up into P9. No safety cars so far. Azun, let us know what's happening in the Division 2 race, because this race has gone very, very quickly. No major incidents, no safety cars, hardly any yellow flags. The drivers have been very well behaved, except for a couple of incidents which you saw, which involved Wicked Vicky and Extinct Body and Pratham for that matter. Well, lap 16 for D2 as Leclerc picks up a 3-second time penalty. That is not helpful at all, and that I think is curtains as far as his hopes for points are concerned, as VFX now has lapped the car of Pratham. But in all that, you can see Redstone is catching, and he doesn't really need to make any sort of dangerous moves or take any sort of risks. But when is VFX gonna pit? Is it this lap? Is it lap 22? Or is he going to wait for one more lap after this? He has to also give himself enough laps, and here he goes. VFX is finally pitting. I hope he doesn't pick up a 5-second time penalty. Yes, he's very well behaved into the pits. Goes VFX on those soft tires, and he will come out, I think, behind Chips. He'll come out in P8, and he will have a lot of racing to do. So on the soft tires, we can expect him to just set the track ablaze, as there's a Ferrari, I think, of extinct body in the pits, as VFX comes out behind Chips and ahead of Caesar. But extinct body, no, it was Bharat in fact who was in the pits on the soft tires as well. So both VFX and Bharat on the same strategy, of course. VFX on in the points as we speak, and 4.1 seconds. Let's say 4 seconds is the gap to Chips, and let's see how much of a gain VFX has for every lap. In all that, Shooter has overtaken Basil. So as things stand, it's a Williams 2-3. So double podium for Williams. And if I am right, I think Williams had a double podium in the last race in China as well. I'm not entirely sure. Jishnu got 15 points, and no, it was a 3-4 for Williams, not a 2-3. So they're doing one better. But yeah, Baz is definitely struggling. Well, he's now keeping the pressure on Shooter, and Shooter, of course, has no DRS. So maybe Baz will get that podium back, at least on this lap, on the end of lap 24. Here goes Baz. He'll have the overspeed and the DRS wide open, and he takes P3 for now. Shooter, I don't think, is going to fight back, but 4 seconds was the gap. So VFX gained 3 seconds in that one out lap on those soft tires. That's how potent they are. And he already has DRS, does he? No, he just about missed out on DRS, but I'm sure Chips is gonna be very careful about this, and he does not want to pick this fight with VFX. So VFX may be coming out of that corner. In fact, just before that corner, I was thinking turn 8, but round the outside goes VFX, and he's made his first move stick. Next victim. Oh, Shooter and Baz, there's something happened there, and Noble Garter has gotten ahead of Hirsch. Is retired in the pits, and I'm not sure what happened there. Baz is down into P6, and Ethan has got up into P3. So something happened which we missed and all that, because we were following VFX's overtake. But Pratham gets a 5-second time penalty in the pit lane. I'm assuming he's going to retire. Yeah, there you go. He has retired from the session. It's full time at the empty hard, and it's 3-1 to Manchester City, and that will help them in the title race. But here goes Ethan, here goes Basil rather, on the back of Noble Garter. They're going to go side by side. It's the light blinking for the Red Bull of Noble Garter, and here we go. Does anyone? Oh, what about that? Shooter just let Baz go there. I don't know why he did that, but oh, Shooter! Oh my God, not Shooter, sorry, it was Noble Garter who completely loses it, and Noble Garter now, he is, well, VFX didn't really have any issues going past his teammates, so he's up into P6 now, and this is going to be an exciting end to the race, as VFX can see the cars were fighting for the podium all in front of him, more or less, except for maybe Jishnu is just a few more car lengths or tenths down the road than he would have liked. But VFX definitely in the hunt for a P3 here. He has to, of course, overtake a few cars, but with the tire advantage he has, I don't think he will have any sort of problem, as we right now first off sits after Shooter. We are on lap 26 of 29, so I don't think we are going to have any more safety cars as Shooter struggles to pin the throttle at the exit of the last corner. Here we go, VFX up into P5 now, and can he make the overtake stick on Basil? I think it will be too much of an ask, but VFX is trying to go for it. He almost went for it, but he will get Baz into the run leading up to turn 4. There is nothing stopping him right now, as the tire advantage is very, very clear, is up into P4. Now there are 5 seconds, rather 4 seconds he needs to catch to Jishnu. So maybe it is still doable. He can still get that P2 back uh, from the Aston Martin and the Williams. So let's see what it does. Is lighting up the track right now as Shooter is relegated to P6, but good thing for him is that VFix has driven off in the distance. So between him and Basil, they can still sort it out for P5. I think that's the best either of them are gonna get. And let's focus our attention back to VFix as he has URL Ethan in front of him. He will wait until the DRS on the main straight and then he will breeze past him, and then he will have 2 full laps to catch Jishnu. How soon can he catch Jishnu? If he catches Jishnu, will be able to pass the Williams. That's a different story altogether. But here is VFix. He has gotten ahead, and further behind is Shooter very close to Basil. He might go for a move. Is he? I think he does stay behind for now. But VFix is up into P3. He has the podium in his grasp. But now 2 seconds is the gap. Now VFix needs DRS at the start of the last lap, and I think he's well on course to have that sort of advantage. So this should be fine for him, and it's looking good for now. The soft tire still holding on, and it will be a couple of laps until they really fall off a cliff. So as things stands, the Red Bull driver should join Red Dub on the podium. Meanwhile, all is well in the life of Red Dub. He has had a habit of leading the races from start to finish, and that's exactly what he has done. It's not exactly a grand slam because he did start on those mediums and there were a few drivers who started on the hards, but he has had a comfortable race right from the race start, and he's going to just take it easy for the last couple of laps and bring it home for another victory, which will be his 5th win in 8 races in the season. That just goes on to show how dominant and how consistent he has been. But here we go, Jishnu on the back, VFix on the back of Jishnu. I think the gap is a bit too much for VFix to go for an overtake right now, but it should be easy for him on the second DRS zone, as Shooter and Bass have overtaken each other, but we'll have to stay on this battle as VFX will go for a move, and he has gone for a move. He has gone down the inside. There's a bit of contact. Jishnu tried to close the door on him, but VFix was having none of it, and he has put himself up into P2. Well, it's a very good drive after starting on those hards and losing a bunch of track positions just in the favor of a good strategy, but it has paid off in the end. But these two, Shooter and Baz, Shooter did overtake the Aston Martin and the run up to turn 1 on this lap. But there is still one more lap to go, so anything can happen, and maybe, just maybe, Baz has a chance here to get P5 and ruin the day for Mercedes. But it's been a not so good day for the McLarens as far as constructor is concerned. Caesar running in P9, he will get 2 points for all his troubles, and Hirsch not scoring any points tonight. So, well, the Mercedes boys are kind of running away with the constructors, but the 4 teams behind them, that's Red Bull, Williams, Aston Martin and McLaren, the other 3 teams scoring a decent number of points, but cannot be said about the McLaren. But here we go, Redstone has started the last lap of the race, but we are fixated on this battle for P5 as Baz was about to go on a move, it felt like, on Shooter. Now both of them seem to have depleted their battery. The red light was flashing. That means that the battery percentage is below 10%. But here goes Baz. Is less than 2 seconds is the gap. He will have to go all the way around the outside of Shooter. Shooter defends exceedingly well. They're going to go side by side in the next section. Let's hope that they don't bang wheels. There's some bit of contact avoiding that contact altogether. Shooter again defending the inside line, placing his car in the middle of the track. Very good defense from Shooter, and now that tire advantage which I was talking about, because Baz going for a move down the inside of Shooter, and Baz will have DRS. So it's not over yet. Shooter will have to give everything in his defense, and he has the inside line. No, Shooter in fact keeps it on the outside, but he swings around from the right of part of the track to the left and keeps the position. And I think that's all she wrote. We'll have to go back to Redstone Dub. What a race it has been! Brilliant domination as always. He wins in Bahrain and takes his fifth victory of the season. It's VFix who is going to come back, and it's a good recovery from P2 after having not a good start. It is P3 for Jishnu, round on the podium, P4 for Ethan, and these two, Baz and Shooter. Shooter does keep P5 ahead of Baz in P6. Noble Gata just briefly did get ahead of a couple of cars in top 5, but has to settle for P7. Chips in P8, Caesar in P9, and Charles Leclerc is going to finish in P10. He gets 1 point, but what a abysmal day for the Ferrari boys. P11, P12, 0 points for them. I think both the Ferraris are reserve drivers, if I'm not sure. But either ways, that is the race. It is Redstone from VFix from Jishnu, your top 3. And I'm not sure what's happening in the Division 2 race, so we'll quickly switch back to there and we'll see what's happening there. But that's all for the Division 1 commentary this week, and we'll see you next week in Jeddah. Not really gonna do podium interviews. I've spoken a lot and I would want to take a break. And but congratulations once again to all 3. That's Redstone, VFix, and Jishnu. And good luck to all Division 1 and Division 2 drivers for next week in Jeddah.